Hey everyone, how's it going today, and welcome to another brand new video and episode. So as some of you guys may or may not have seen is that a little bit of a while back ago I made a video talking about the 5 lessons that I learned from being unemployed for the better part of over 1 year. I highly recommend checking that video out. If you guys haven't seen it, I'll put that video at the very end screen. Maybe I'll even put it in the description as well, so you guys can check out 5 lessons that I learned from being unemployed for 1 year. But in today's video, what I really want to talk about is really dedicating this to anyone that either is unemployed right now, underemployed, or maybe is just curious about hearing something from the stories of a life of someone that was unemployed during that time. And it's really talking about what I actually do with my time as someone that was unemployed. Is this something where I'm just sitting around looking at the wall all day? So if you happen to be unemployed, maybe you're even bored during your time period, what is something that you can actually physically do? Then you have come to the right video. So we're just gonna get this video started right on the spot. Now, a very quick disclaimer is that right now at the time that I'm making this video, I'm actually already working. So this is really technically talking about the time when I was unemployed at that time period. But right now I currently run a small business, and the idea is that the business has been cyclical. So you can kind of say that I'm sort of underemployed. I'm working, but I'm not working the full time. But a lot of these points are still going to apply. So that being said, let's get this video started right on the spot. But as always, if you guys enjoy videos like this, comment, feel free to comment anything, even a simple hello, and consider subscribing and hitting the bell for similar videos, or you can watch to the end to decide. And let's get this video started. So the first thing that I really spend my time doing when I was unemployed back in the day is really about trying to spend time focusing on my health at that time period. This is actually especially true because I think a lot of people, at least for me it was the case, is that when I was employed before I was unemployed back in the day, so even more back in the day, a lot of times I found myself in cases where I was working very long hours, I didn't get a lot of sleep, my physical health was being impacted, my mental health was being impacted. So once I entered into a period of unemployment, what I really did work on at that time period was just everything related to just improving my health and getting it back to normal. I notice this especially true with years that are going by. I think when a lot of people start aging, I think a lot of times people start to not realize how much having good health is going to potentially impact their life. So when I went unemployed during that time period, I spent a lot of time finally being able to go outside more, getting more sunlight, working out a little bit, cooking meals, learning new skills, and all sorts of things. And I think that that's probably going to be the first thing to really be able to share. Now, the second thing to share that I spent my time doing at that time period when I was unemployed is going to be everything related to skills development. And I think it's that because when you are unemployed, you are probably, while it's true that sadly you probably don't have a lot of money coming in, you're probably struggling financially, at least I was certainly at that time period, so I totally feel it there. One of the big things though is that one of the ways that we are actually relatively rich, while we might not necessarily be rich in terms of finances, for most of us, we are very rich in terms of time. We have a lot of time on our hands because we're not working at that time period. We're just basically waking up every single day. So during that time period, I spent a lot of time learning and trying to work on different skill sets that I really felt passionate about, especially skill sets that would potentially help me to find employment somewhere down the line. So this could be learning anything such as like finances. So if you guys are in this channel, welcome, consider subscribing if you guys haven't done so yet. But doing things such as like working on your finances, learning new skills, learning things related to the career path that you are currently in, related to the job, so that when you are looking for your new job, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, you're able to hopefully go into the job market even better and maybe find an even better job than when you actually were employed previously at that particular time period. Now, the third thing that I really spend my time doing is going to be everything related to my social life. And I think that that's one of the very important things. Now, I think this one's really important to hear through, because a lot of times when I mention social life, people are going to think that this means that you're just spending time partying all day, right? At least some people. I know that there's going to be a misunderstanding for that. But it's that because one of the biggest benefits to being unemployed is that because you have a lot of time on your hands, not only can you use that time to work on yourself and learn new skills, but you can also use that time to finally catch up with a lot of your friends, your family, people around you, but also to build up your network. And this is why I say that there's actually a practical incentive to this, because when I was unemployed back in the day, I spent a lot of time going out to events, chit-chatting, sometimes going to parties, but the reason why I did a lot of this stuff was not necessarily just to have like a good time and enjoy and all that kind of stuff, but it was also because during that time period, it was an incredible way to meet people, to network, to kind of learn things from the people, especially older individuals, lessons learned and everything like that from them, so that I can sort of take with me as I was going through a lot of the difficulties that I was going through. And at the end of the day, I always tell people is that one of the biggest tips or things that I've ever received, tips that I've ever received in life, was about how at the end of the day, whatever you're trying to go through in life, it is really, really difficult to navigate solo if you're trying to build something really, really big. It's so important to surround yourself with positive energy, good people. And part of that really comes with basically being able to go out there and meet these positive, good, and encouraging and supportive people out there, especially if you find yourself in a case where you either need to change your social circle, or maybe you don't even have a social circle. Because I know during that time period, I lost a lot of friends at that time period, so I barely even had a social circle at that time period, and I had to build everything from scratch or near scratch at that time. I knew a few people, but really not really a lot of people at that time period. So this is just really the third thing that I think is so important to work on if you are someone that's currently unemployed, or even if you are employed, it's still something that you should actually work on regardless of your employment status. Now, the next thing to really be able to share about what I actually do with my time being unemployed, at that time period for over 1 year, is really being able to work on side hustles. While it is true that I was unemployed in the sense that I was not working my main job full time, it was also true that I had a lot of side hustles that I was pursuing at that time period. There were some side hustles that I was not necessarily making money in, but I was pursuing with the hopes of maybe someday making money in them. There were also some side hustles that I actually was already able to actively get involved in. So for example, like e-commerce, these are just a couple examples to throw out there that you can maybe consider. E-commerce is a business model where you basically just buy things and you resell them. That's something that you can do on the spot if you are unemployed and have some reason, because you do need a little bit of money to start, but if you have some reasonable amount of money, you can definitely consider doing this. I started my first e-commerce business with a couple $100s in my bank account that I used for it. So you don't need like a fortune, several $1,000s kind of story situation. But even other kinds of side hustles like YouTube, content creation, Instagram, influence, marketing, all sorts of different internet related business models. These are all things that you can really, really work on with your time if you happen to be unemployed, especially now, as mentioned, that you have a lot more time on your hands, that while you might not necessarily be wealthy in terms of cash, you're hopefully relatively wealthy in terms of time. And that's one of the most valuable assets that you will have being unemployed, at least that what I had that I noticed when I was unemployed for the better part of a year. And then probably the last thing that we're gonna share that we're gonna share in terms of what I actually do with my time when I was unemployed is really just applying for jobs and everything related to the job search process. At that time period, because I was unemployed, I think the goal was to maybe potentially try to not just look for a job, but maybe to try to have some hope that we could maybe find a job that was even better than the previous job that we were working at that time period. So spending time doing things such as like working on my resume, practicing interview skills, practicing social skills, networking, we mentioned that already, working on cover letters, applying for jobs, finding different resources, really building up your application, building yourself as a person. These are just some things that I really spent my time doing when I was unemployed. And the last thing that I really think is important, that most people probably already know, but at the end of the day, it is still something that you should be spending your time doing. And I know there's a lot of people that sometimes, when they're applying for jobs, they'll have a lot of gaps in between where there's, they're lose encouragement, they're, be wondering what they're doing this for. And I've definitely felt it because, again, I speak from experience as someone that was unemployed for over a year. But this was just something that I really worked on during that time period. So the idea really is, to recap, is that it's just really, really important to, at least for me, what I did when I was unemployed was to work on my health, both physical and mental health, to work on skills development, so to build up skills that you can potentially use in the future down the line, to work on my social life and networking, so everything about building up an expansive circle, to build up side hustles, and finally, to apply for a new job, of course, because that's what we're all here for, right? At the end of the day. So with that being said, that's really what I wanted to share in today's video. So if you guys found that insightful, as always, hopefully you guys did, but if you guys did, consider smashing the like button, subscribing, hitting the bell, feel free to leave a comment, and hope to see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much again.